Welcome to the Frozen Layer podcast, brought to you by ZenTek Consultants CA, where we will discuss all things related to the CAD, BIM, and construction markets, with a little humor thrown in for good measure. I am your host, Steve Fahey. Let's get into it. Good morning. Our goal with the Frozen Layer is to share valuable information that our CAD, BIM, and construction clients will find useful and help them increase productivity, just like freezing a layer in CAD. I'm pleased to have David Mills joining me again. You're a sucker for punishment, David. What's this, like second or third time back?
Lost count already. I lost count already. That's how fun it is around here.
There you go. David has an extensive background implementing and supporting technology in the construction management field. He has written numerous articles and blogs and delivers training on Bluebeam, Procore, and Excel. Today, I'd like to talk about different tools that construction firms use to gain better control of their projects. As you know, David, a lot of firms in the industry rely on solutions like Procore and Autodesk, and they're wonderful tools, but not everybody can afford them. So a lot of companies have to sort of put their own solutions together. What is your view on firms using solutions such as Excel or MS Project or Bluebeam to meet their needs?
Programs like Excel and the rest of the Microsoft suite, that's already included in so many people's Office subscriptions already. A Microsoft project is something that is an additional cost, but at the end of the day, it's a lot cheaper than those other two solutions that you suggested, like Procore and Autodesk Construction Cloud. But Excel, it's such a familiar program for anyone that has been working anytime throughout the industry. It started with Excel. I forgot what it was before Excel. It's just utilizing the estimating, accounting, project management for tracking. Excel is such a versatile program. And then we also have, again, Microsoft Project. Most people don't even scratch the surface on what both Project and Excel can do. Most of the time, including in the classes that we teach for both of these, we explain, most of the things some people already know. However, when we give it a detail or an example a feature that somebody doesn't know, man, you should see their eyes light up and like, oh, I can do that with this. I already have this program. I'm paying, how many bucks a month just for one user to have it. It's so cheap. And it can do this type of automation. The eyes always light up in the room whenever I do that. And same thing with like Bluebeam. Bluebeam is, I'd never talk about it enough. It's such a great program for anyone in the construction architectural realm space. Looking at drawings, it's got a lot of great automation features a part of it, like page labeling, estimating tools as well. So many great things about Bluebeam I could talk about all day.
Yeah, I know what you mean about the eyes in Excel, because I took an Excel course, I was going to say many years ago, but it's many decades ago now. And I felt pretty good about myself. I came out of that course, pretty good understanding of how Excel works, and I could start to do some things. And then I remember being in a meeting one time with someone that really knew how to use Excel, and they were just flying. And I was sitting there going, oh my God, I got a lot to learn.
Yeah, that's how I am in some of my classes too. Even that I teach somebody, I wish I knew everything in the world. If I would be a much more successful individual if I knew everything in the world. However, we're all human. We're not perfect. Sometimes, and this happens every now and then, including in the last Excel class I taught, somebody actually taught me something new about one of the features. And I'm like, again, my eyes lit up. I was happy to learn something that I didn't know. And Excel is one of those programs that, again, I have spent more hours just tinkering with Excel than so many other of my peers. It's kind of a nerdy thing. But even then, I just scratched the surface of it. There's so much you can do in Excel.
Yeah, well, it's important What jumps out to me there is that you're teaching people how to use this solution, but you're not afraid to accept that somebody knew something that you haven't crossed over before, and to be happy to learn that. So I think that's important for everybody in life. One of the Excel courses that you do teach is Excel for construction and estimating. What kind of firms do you find tend to take this course?
I've actually noticed, despite it being, construction and estimating, I see really a lot of people, just general folks in the construction industry. So anything from a project manager to a superintendent to a full-blown estimator. I've even had some accounting folks in that class just so they could understand how their individuals on their firms are utilizing Excel and how they use it specifically. Small, medium, large firms. It's really a pretty wide casting class, and I teach it. Again, how I teach all the classes is we teach you how to do everything, what these tools do, and at the end of the day, it's up to you as the person taking the class, as the student, to actually apply those to your day-to-day workflows. I'm not a member of your company. I don't know what you did last week. I don't know how you do any of your procedures in your company. But what I can tell you to do and teach you is how to set up certain things in Excel to make it easier for both yourself and other people in the future.
Yeah.
At your firm.
Yeah, that's a valuable point. Everybody has a different workflow and approach. So, the tool is there. You have to learn how to use it and then apply it to how you work on a daily basis. So, as a follow-up to that, to the last question, do you find firms use Bluebeam in conjunction with Excel for estimating?
Most of the time, no. And because they don't know about it. However, as soon as they find out that you can do something it's called quantity linking. For everyone listening in, we do have a YouTube video on it on our channel, on ZenTek's channel, and we might even have a few blogs and podcasts about it as well. I know it's one of the big things we do advocate for and explain to people. So before they take any of the classes or anything, most people don't even know that you can quantity link to Excel. And for anyone not familiar with what I'm talking about, when you're doing a takeoff in Bluebeam, a square footage, for example, of some tile, what you can do is as you're doing that takeoff in Bluebeam, you can link that to your Excel template, your Excel, estimating sheet. And as you do more takeoffs, that number is going to dynamically change automatically within your Excel file. So as you add more and more subjects, more markups, etc., it will be linking and updating all your values, your costs, all within your Excel estimating sheet.
Yeah, it's fun to watch that happen. We mentioned Microsoft Project earlier. MS Project can be used for construction management. How do you find firms take advantage of this option?
This is, again, one of those statements I had earlier. Most of the time, and I'm going to throw myself under the bus for this one. When I was I knew Microsoft Project and I was utilizing it, but I didn't know all the features. Most people just use it as a schedule tool at the start of the project. And they dynamically update it a few times throughout the life cycle of a project. That's really it. However, there's so much more you can do with that. You could do cost estimating and tracking. We've been explaining to that in some of our classes. We could take a look at resources. And resources in project can be anywhere from equipment to materials to people, and start seeing how these resources are interacting with our other projects. For example, you can't have a superintendent be in two locations at once.
Yeah.
Or same thing with an excavator for any of our subcontractors in the civil realm of stuff. And you could really use both the Microsoft Project Online and other integrations within Microsoft Project to really track where everything is at on a project and on all of your projects, and make sure you are uh, really documenting everything. Because again, it's just going to save you money. That way, there's no overlap. Or, there's not just a piece of equipment hanging around doing nothing, sitting in the yard that you may not even know about.
Mm.
Or, again, two project managers or a project manager on two projects, two big projects may not have the time for that, depending on how the overlap is.
Yeah.
Two projects at its peak, going to be a lot harder than one project starting up and one project finishing, for example.
Yeah, now you made a lot of good points there from, potential labor savings and better utilization of your equipment. So,
and there's also the case of, I still see it very frequently, is a lot of field staff, they like to use Excel to do like a 3-week look ahead schedule. Or the project manager or superintendent, they kind of recreate the wheel. They retype everything in, or they do a save as and delete anything after 3 weeks. But utilizing different views, filters, and groups within project, you can completely change the way your schedule looks and displays to people.
Very good point. All right, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsor. When we come back, I'd like to discuss the difference between Bluebeam Studio and Bluebeam Sessions. Today's Frozen Layer podcast is being brought to you by our ZenTek Training Division. ZenTek has a variety of training options available, from public courses, private group courses, on-demand courses, as well as custom courses to meet all your design needs. We offer training in Bluebeam, Autodesk, Procore, and BricsCAD, with options from beginner through to advanced. To learn more, visit our website, ZenTekConsultants.net, or give us a call, 866-824-4459, or you can email sales@ZenTekConsultants.net. ZenTek Consultants CA for all your technology consulting needs. Welcome back to the Frozen Layer podcast with our special guest today, David Mills. Dave, as I mentioned before the break, I'd like you to tell us the difference between Bluebeam Studio and Bluebeam Sessions.
Yeah, so Bluebeam they are very similar to each other, but Studio is really used for documents and drawing management on a project. And you can share and have a nice folder structure, have different permissions for different user groups. For example, if you are a general contractor, you probably want your project management team to have a higher permissions, be able to edit, modify, delete files. Your architect, you may want them to be able to add files and folders to specific folders, maybe the R5 folder, the submittal folder. And your subcontractors, you might just want them to just have view. You just want to be able to see everything, and even hide certain folders from them that they may not need to even be aware of. There's no point in showing them the invoice folder, right? That's not something they need to be aware of. However, internally, you guys can still use Bluebeam Studio to have your superintendents in the field, project manager in the office, or going to a different project engineer, all on the same kind of structure, and it's all cloud-based too. Bluebeam Studio has unlimited storage. I'm sure there's maybe some limit in the hundreds of terabytes, but any other project I've worked on, I have never ran into any issues. I put let's see, the hospital alone was 1,200 drawings. There was 23 bulletins to that, close to 30,000 drawings alone on one Bluebeam Studio project.
Yeah.
And that's not including other documents like the spec book. I put some submittals on there. I put some other just resources in there to share among my team. And then there's also Bluebeam sessions. And sessions are kind of a sub aspect of Bluebeam Studio. Again, Bluebeam Studio, file sharing, file collaboration. However, when you get into sessions, that's when you get into the individual collaboration on a file level. So you could have your architect who can be sitting at his computer desk, your project manager who can be sitting at an entirely different computer desk, and maybe an owner and subcontractors. They could all be on a call together and utilizing Bluebeam sessions to mark up a drawing together, add notes, even in the estimating realm. If you want to have a session for your estimating team, if you have a chief estimator, maybe a couple junior estimators, or maybe like an intern that does some basic takeoffs, that could be another just a session example for everyone. Collaborating between, again, the field team and the project management team. Have live updates, have live questions or notes on a drawing. Punch lists. I've done it with punch lists before, having a session together because we had several people walking around on a project, and that's how we did our punch list, is using a sessions.
Yeah. Field crews and project managers, you mentioned them earlier. They're a critical part of any construction process. What benefits do you think they receive from having an iPad with Bluebeam installed when they're on site?
So we talked about earlier about some of those expensive methods, Procore, Autodesk, Construction Cloud. Those are pricey, right? Bluebeam for the iPad, it's a one-time. I haven't looked it up because I bought it 6 years ago now, but it's been a one-time cost of $10.
Yep.
And it's pretty great because you can download the drawings. Again, I'm utilizing the drawing aspect and specs aspect of stuff, and walk around your project without having any type of service. You could have all your PDF tools that you mark up with, including tool chests. If anyone is is familiar with tool chests and tool sets, you could utilize those. Just general notes: if you are utilizing a stylus and or Apple Pen, again, Bluebeam iPad has a pen tool, so you can even just write on your drawings, and then you go back to your desk, your computer desk, and go on, Bluebeam on your desktop, and all of your notes are there, that you just walked around with in the field, assuming you used Bluebeam Studio.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're not utilizing Studio, you're going to have to do a couple of steps in between. But if you have your drawings in Studio, very seamlessly able to go between the field and your computer desk with your notes.
Yeah, really good points. And that's it's the way of the future. Technology is really infiltrating everywhere, and you've got these guys on site taking notes. Should be digital from the beginning. It's going to benefit everybody. Once you have all of these files set up, how do you recommend firms share this information with their teams?
So all of the programs I talked about already, so the entire Microsoft suite, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Bluebeam, MS Project, they all have what are known as templates. Templates, and most of the time what I've seen, and again, I'm going to throw myself under the bus here because I still do this. However, I've been trying to get away from it. Most of us, we have a template file saved somewhere on our server, and every single time we need to, create something from that, we just do a copy and paste. It's very common. Steve, I don't know if you do that, but like I said, I know I do.
Yep.
Yep. So exactly, it's something everyone does. However, in all of these programs I reference, again, you can actually create what is known as a template file. And when you open up one of these Microsoft programs, it'll actually be presented to you right there, to have create a template from your estimating worksheet, for example, or if you're doing some type of legal documents, if your GCs, have a template for your contract, have a template for an RFI, a submittal form, that you can utilize in Word and Bluebeam. There's also email templates. I utilize these for when we send out our ZenTek Revu tools, and other tools that we sell here at ZenTek. That way, it's quite literally one click. It has everything filled out for me. Only thing I have to do is change the to send it to the actual client. But I don't need to type that email. I don't need to copy and paste from an email. I don't need to have a draft saved somewhere. And the same thing, again, it goes for Excel. I just created one for myself for Word. And again, it's teaching all of our classes. And it has the same kind of, I would love to be able to teach a class off the top of my head of everything. Unfortunately, I do follow somewhat of a script a lot of the time, just has some general bullet points. However, the same part of that script, that introduction, it's the same every single class. It introduces me, introduces ZenTek.
Yeah.
So actually, I created a template for the classes that I teach. Eventually, going to do some PowerPoint and some Excel stuff for myself. And with that, you can then have a central directory of all of your template files. Lock that down so that only a few select people on your team can change those templates. And that way you can make a live update to that template and it'll be pushed out to everyone's computer, whether that be, a fix of a formula in Excel, changing some legal language, whatever it may be.
It's a great way to gain control and make sure that everybody is working from the same base point. Regarding the courses, we've mentioned multiple times here today about the training classes that we have and what we deliver. Do you have a particular Bluebeam course you think everyone can benefit from?
For Bluebeam, yeah, it's going to be probably Bluebeam for beginners. I took that when I started working at ZenTek. And even my interview process was showing Bluebeam. And I thought I knew a lot about Bluebeam. I've been using it for 6 years at that point, six and a half years at that point. And man, was I wrong. Again, we teach a lot of our courses the same way that both you would utilize it and to give you a whole bunch of examples on how to use all the tools within Bluebeam. There were a lot of features and sources that I did not know about. One example being, like custom columns, and tool sets. We talk about those during those classes. I knew a little bit about them. I knew that they existed. However, I didn't know how that would benefit me as an employee, and how much time it would actually save. And that's just one example. There's 50 examples every single session. And everyone has a different take home from it every single time.
Yeah, well, it's a good point, to think about the basics, because a lot of times you teach yourself how to use something and you may get from point A to point B, but it doesn't mean that you're doing it the most efficient way. And, there's usually 2 or 3 different ways to do it. And by taking the training, you're going to actually realize, and I know I've had some clients where they had the product and then they call us up and say, we'd like to talk about some things, and we show them a couple of things and they're like, oh, it's that easy? We've been doing it this way. And they're really, it's like exactly they're pushing the rock up the hill the whole way rather than push the button and have the rock get there. So it's a big difference. So, well, thank you very much for joining us again today, David. It was a pleasure to have you. I think we covered a lot of valuable information.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Once again, Until next time, keep freezing those layers.